Man, it sucks getting old.
Yeah, you are old. Hey, welcome everybody. We are doing our first Professional Dads podcast. Now look at the screen. You can look at us, and right off the bat, that you can know every one of us are professionals. Especially Eric wearing the tie. Well, not the tie, but the coat. You look good. You're the only one came dressed appropriately.
Putting us to shame.
Hey, what we're going to do tonight? We're going to introduce this podcast, but what we're going to do is we're going to go around the room first and introduce you to all of us. All of us are dads. We'll call ourselves professional dads because we all have, good things going on. But I think this will be something that will be very beneficial to us coming up over the next months, years that we're doing this podcast. And you got a group of good people here, good friends, and men need to lean on each other, right? So we'll just start going around. And hey, Devo, you're driving the car. We want you to be careful. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself first? Because you really kind of came with this idea of this podcast. So talk about yourself and talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, greetings, gentlemen. It's such a pleasure and an honor to sit before you, distinguished guys. I am looking forward to this podcast, Professional Dads. When you think about this title and you think about professionalism and you think about being a father, you think about being on 24/7. And so what I want to do, what I hope that we can do is dispel that myth. Yes, you have to be a father. And yes, you should be professional at all times, but that doesn't mean that we have all the answers and that we have the correct way about everything that we should do. So I'm just looking forward to getting together, to chopping it up, but utmost and foremost, just learning, just creating a platform, creating or an environment where we can all just kind of break bread metaphorically and just eat and get fed and learn from one another, learn from our experiences and learn from our situations and trials and tribulations. My name is Devon Carson. I am from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I currently live in Burlington, North Carolina, and I guess my background is education. I've been a school counselor. I've been assistant principal, been I guess executive director over a TRIO program. Been a principal in prison, not because I had to stay there, but because it was
clarify that.
Right. I don't want you to think it's that type of show, but
I was about to say, I thought you looked familiar.
Well, facts. Those are some of the smartest guys I think I've met in my life, to be truthfully honest with you. But nevertheless, I digress. Again, Devon Carson, sailor, veteran, Navy man. Love education. I think I would stay in education or learn different parts as much as I possibly could if my wife would allow me. However, she told me I had to go to work, so eventually that's what I'm going to do, and I'll explain that point in a minute. But yeah, I'm just excited to be here. I'm excited to have a seat in the room and just learn. So I've been in education for 23 years, and I just turned 50 or 51 last year, and I woke up one day. I don't want a new sports car or anything like that, but my midlife crisis was I love photography. I have an addiction. I jones for photography and an opportunity to shoot here, there, and everywhere. And so with that, I wanted to go back to school, and thank goodness the good Lord has put me in a position where I can still take care of things at the house and make sure my family doesn't get caught up in a lurch. But my wife gave me an opportunity, and I say gave because it was a joint decision, but she gave me an opportunity where I could go to school. So the last 2 years I've been at Randolph Community College, just learning photography from a technical standpoint and just trying to get a little bit better in my craft. However, that opportunity is getting ready to go bye-bye. I have approximately, I believe, about another 6 months before she pulls the plug on that project, and we have to be gainfully employed. So y'all pray for a brother, and hopefully he'll land on his feet and get some type of income coming in where it's not with a veil standing on the side of a store or something like that. So we gonna see what we can do and get some gainful employment. But again, Devon Carson, and I am just your average Walmart shopper, and I am looking forward to gathering with you, gentlemen, and any ladies who may be out there as well. Just
right.
so we don't discriminate.
I have to behave.
How many kids?
Oh, okay. So yeah, yeah, I did call myself a dad, right? So I have, I have, uh, I have four, if you want to count my son in heaven. But I have girls. I have two girls who are University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. I have a senior, and I also have a freshman there.
Okay.
Very excited, and then I also have is at Marvin B. Smith Elementary School in Burlington. So that's a whole nother segment. Maybe we'll get to that about 45 or something. We can talk how all that lined up. But yeah, I got three kids, and my fourth one is my little junior, who's waiting on me in heaven, trying to hold it down till I get there. So that's me in a nutshell. And I've been married for 22 years. 22 years. So long time. All right, I'll pass the baton.
Right on.
Yeah. Go Vols. Go Vols.
Oh, you want to talk about the balls too? Yeah, I can go on now. Yeah, so let me give you my educational background history.
Yeah, let's hear that. Let's hear that real quick.
Okay. Graduated before they won all the national championships. Then after that, had the pleasure of going to the University of Tennessee and gaining a couple degrees there. I picked up a rehab counseling degree and also an educational specialist degree from the University of Tennessee, who won a national championship in 1998 under the direction of T. Martin. Peyton was there my first year. We were classmates, although he probably wouldn't recognize me today. I've changed a little bit. And lastly, I ended up with my final degree, my terminal degree from the University of Memphis. Got an educational leadership degree, and along the way had an opportunity to help hopefully a lot of kids pursue their dreams and advance themselves and their families and their careers. So that's a little bit about me, but as we go along, I'll probably rant a little bit more too. But pleasure meeting everyone.
Yeah, that's right. Awesome. Doctor. We'll call you Doc. So,
Doctor.
okay.
Doctor.
I've been called a lot worse, that's for sure.
And doctor.
Doctor.
Eric, let's hear from you.
Gents, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I paid to be on this podcast, so I appreciate you all letting me.
Wait a minute. I got to talk to HR. I didn't see a cent of that money.
I paid. My story. I say I was born in '75, but my story starts in 2006. I'm a son of Harold and Cookie, a little country town in Stonewall, North Carolina, product of a pastor, and so that's why I try to keep my F-bombs to a minimum. No shade, but I'm very excited about being here. I've known Devon for over 25 years, because it seems like everywhere he's been, I follow him. But we cut our teeth together at Appalachian State, where I started my undergrad, and I followed him to the University of Tennessee. Devon, we got that story about San Diego when we were at the ACA conference. That's really the way that I ended up at the University of Tennessee, was following him to San Diego for a conference. And we're going to go meet some people. We end up in a hotel room, and I ended up interviewing for the EDS program. So would not have had that stop in Knoxville had it not been for Devon. So I guess I'm kind of part-time stalker, because I ended up getting him in my wedding to be one of my groomsmen in my wedding. So you'll hear some themes throughout the conversation where Devon and I intersect, where our lives have crossed. But like I said, I grew up in Stoneville, North Carolina. My mother and father raised three of us, two daughters and a son.
Hey, Eric.
My oldest.
Eric, you didn't want to share the
but-
story when we rented the car and went through Tijuana?
Oh my goodness! Oh my,
That
yeah,
might be
dude.
what
Hey.
show's that gonna be on?
Wait a
That-
minute.
that
I'm the
might
one
be
that
s-
needs to behave.
Well, see, that's why I said I was born in 75, but my story starts in 2006 because that's when I gave my heart back to the Lord. In 2006. So some of these stories I tell you, if it's pre 2006, it ain't nothing but trouble. Nothing but trouble. But no. We will talk about the Tijuana story, especially when I had the video camera. We're in there videotaping and they run us out of that store. That was pretty crazy. And the road literally ran out in Tijuana. We were humping in a Yugo. So we'll put a pin on there. But yeah, so my oldest sister Robin, like John said, saved some spots for us with his ace. She's waiting for me in heaven. Lost her in 2007 to cancer, but we'll talk about that story. But my younger sister Dana, living in Burlington, I'm a family man, so I'm really close to my siblings, my mom and dad. But when I left Appalachian State, I went to the University of Georgia the first time for graduate school, and was school counseling. And I decided, I wanted to follow Devon. I ended up going to University of Tennessee for a little bit. And on the off chance, when we talk about professional dads, we'll also talk about networking. I had an opportunity that was just out of the blue. One of the former coaches, we were standing at the Rock at Tennessee, and she used to be a student athlete at the University of Georgia. And I really wanted a job that was at the University of Georgia at the time, but I didn't know anybody there. And I didn't realize that coach was a former student athlete at Georgia. And she picked up the phone and called the person who would end up being my boss. And she said, "Hey, there's a guy who graduated from Georgia. He's working at Tennessee. He wants to come back." And so being in the right place at the right time, networking, not burning bridges, people will, make that call on your behalf. So moved back to Athens. Stayed in Athens till about 2006, I believe it was. I think it was 2006 when we got the unfortunate call about my sister and her cancer diagnosis. So probably the most difficult decision was to move back to North Carolina, but it really was the easiest decision because on one hand, I wanted to stay in Athens with this guy all my professional career. But I had to come back to North Carolina. And that's why I say life really started in 2006. After coming back to Boone, North Carolina, I was blessed to meet my girlfriend, now wife, of 18 years, Erin. When I tell you my life has radically changed because of that woman, it has radically changed. And so a lot of the story about being a professional dad is really having a professional mother right next to me. Two boys, 10-year-old, soon to be 7-year-old. These kids, man, I can't believe how lucky I am to be their father. And when we talk about some of the things that I've gone through, even before being a father, it's just nothing but grace to have the responsibility to be their dad. So my professional career, like Devon, I cut my teeth in education and then just decided I wanted to be more in the higher education space. So I left middle school in Athens, Clark County, moved to Knoxville, began working at the University of Tennessee, transitioned to the University of Georgia, went back to Appalachian State, working in higher ed. Met Aaron. We had an opportunity of a lifetime to go to Dover, Delaware, of all places, smallest state in the United States. But we enjoyed 7 years in Dover, where our son was born in Delaware. And after which we ended up moving back to North Carolina, an opportunity where my wife had always followed me for opportunities. We actually came back here to follow her dream. So had an opportunity at Guilford College, a small Division III school here in Greensboro, that led to an opportunity at North Carolina A&T, and then just made a full shift and went out of higher education. I was still higher education adjacent, working for a nonprofit organization called the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. following a dear friend of mine who is the CEO and president, Dr. Harry Williams. And after look at you, I knew it was coming. After a while, just had one of those moments when we talk about taking risks. Sometimes you got to bet on yourself. Devon talked about, giving up part of his work life to go chase his dreams in photography. Well, I wanted to do something that would make impact. And so I'm now a financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual here in Winston-Salem. And so radical change in terms of what I was used to doing in terms of higher education, working with students, or being a professional fundraiser. And now I tell people I'm still a fundraiser, but I'm raising funds within families. And so instead of you giving me money to go build a building on a college campus, we're building wealth to create legacy for generations and generations to come. So that's put a pin on part of my journey, my story, and we'll weave some more in as we go along.
That's part of it, right? So we've got a lot more to talk about. But hey, real quick, how did you and I meet? How did we come together?
Yeah, so I mentioned there was that stint when we moved back here in 2016, where I was able to go to Guilford College. Very unique Division III private Quaker institution. It just by chance had a off chance to meet Matt's son Braden, who was on the soccer team at the time. One aspect of my role was to raise money for the Quaker Club, and doing my job, making calls and meeting people, I had a chance to meet Matt, and we had coffee the first time. And when you meet someone, depending on the circumstances, you meet, you exchange, you hope it goes somewhere. It may not. But when Matt and I met, it was like pistons firing. It was simpatico. It was serendipitous. It was like, wow, brother from another mother. And I was just telling my mother-in-law tonight about this opportunity tonight and explaining who Matt was. I said there was time even after I left Guilford, went to A&T, and subsequently Thurgood Marshall, that we didn't talk for several years. But then when I linked back with Northwestern Mutual, and he was one of the first calls I made, it was like taking pause and hitting play again. We'd never missed the rhythm of our relationship. Right. And so we've been chopping it up since then. You have that kindred spirit. So I just add another brother to this fabric of brotherhood. He's another one of my brothers. Yeah,
absolutely. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And I think Braden and Riley are watching right now, which is cool. So he's out there. So he brought us together. That's good. I'll get to him in a little bit. Anthony.
Yes, sir.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, well, you're going to see a common theme here. I've probably known Devon for almost 20 years. All of our kids are like, boom, 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 the same age. Our wives were pregnant with our middle kids and our younger kids at the same time. So we were able to walk through a lot of life's experiences together. I'll tell you, Devon is very good about pulling me out of my comfort zone. I didn't do a trip to Tijuana, but we did drive along the beach, and he was surfing in the water, hanging out the door. That's how I was driving down the beach. So definitely some adventures. But so I'm a small business owner, starting to dabble in thoughts of entrepreneurship. Once again, following Devon's lead, I decided I should probably go back to school. I originally attended Virginia Tech for engineering, but quickly realized that was not my calling. So I kind of bounced around and ultimately left and started working in the hospitality industry, and absolutely loved it. Just you make an immediate impact on people, and you get the results right away, and that certainly feeds to my personality. But I'm a father of three, 21-year-old daughter, Courtney, 19-year-old son, Alex, and then an 11-year-old daughter, Bethany, in 5th grade. Both of my kids attend UNC Charlotte right now. My daughter actually graduates next December, which is just crazy to me. But yeah, I'm just excited to be here. I've done a couple podcasts with Devon, nothing to this production level, but I'm excited to be here and connect with some people for sure.
It's gonna be good. Doc, introduce yourself.
Gentlemen, I have clearly found just from listening the last 20 minutes that I am definitely in the right group of people. That's for sure. There's no doubt we can get in some serious trouble together. Anyway, I'm Andy Barker. Let's see. In my career, I spent almost 32 years in the military, and recently retired about 3 years ago, almost 4 now. And I am enjoying your taxpayer dollars. So thank you very much. Retirement is everything I thought it would be and more. It's amazing. I got
Hey,
a little
well
bit of late
deserved.
start
Well
in.
deserved.
Well, thank you, sir. I got a little bit of late start in life. I didn't have my first child until I was 40. So, and now she's 14, going to be 15 coming up in April. And I have a son that's 13, and if he's lucky, he might make it to 14. I don't know. But I'm really excited about this podcast because when Matt brought it up to me, I was like, dude, finally I can find somewhere to get rid of these kids. It's wait, is it not the podcast we talked about?
No, not
Wrong,
this one.
wrong one. Sorry. Anyway, forget I said that. But as a quick little icebreaker, I had the kids come up to me a couple years ago, and of course I thought they were going to get me, and they said, "Daddy, which one of us is your favorite?" And I looked at them both, and I said, "What makes you think I like either one of you little bastards? Get the hell out of here! I gotta love you. Nothing says I gotta like you."
Amen.
So, yeah, I'm the one that Matt usually needs to
Send a
know.
side text to and say, hey.
Yeah, knock it off, behave. So I'm gonna try my best, guys, to behave, but sometimes the demons slip out, and it is what it is. But Devo, for you, man, when I heard that you got to look for some employment with that photography thing, man, I hear that OnlyFans is a pretty good opportunity. $20 is $20. You know what I'm saying?
Don't discriminate.
Yeah, that's right. That's
We
right.
research a little later.
So, Devo, you would appreciate this, I'm sure. I started out in the Navy. I enlisted when I was 18. I enlisted to join as E1, worked my way up through Chief Petty Officer E7, and then I had the wonderful opportunity to go to Hampton University in Virginia, and I got my nursing degree. So I
Look
finished
at
out my last I don't know 11 years or so as an ER trauma nurse, and
you. Wow.
thanks to that, I don't have to work another day in my life, and it's glorious.
Yeah. Another thing y'all two have in common is he's into photography and videography and editing and all that. So.
Oh, we're for sure going to talk offline, no doubt.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's a good thing.
Yes,
That's
sir.
good.
Yes, sir. Let's chop it.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm Matthew Currin. So, I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina originally, and grew up and graduated from school there. Went off to UNC Greensboro, played baseball there. Met my wife there. We met our sophomore year of college, and then got married a year after. We got married in 1995. So we're coming up on 30 years of marriage this year. 30 strong years of marriage, and have 3 kids. Have my son Braden that we spoke about earlier. He lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, works for Milwaukee Tools, has a wonderful future wife coming. Her name is Riley. And then,
When is the funeral, by the way?
She's listening, Doc. She's listening.
Even better. When is the funeral, by the way?
This dude.
Well, let's face it, fellas. Nothing's going to change for her.
Right there.
Nothing's changing for her.
She has a lot to learn from this podcast, as well as Braden. She wants Braden to watch everything, so he knows how to be a good father. That's for sure, right? Riley's saying, "Hey."
Hey, I've always said there's 2 ways you can learn. You can either learn what not to do or what to do. So
exactly.
either way is knowledge.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah. I was in the Marine Corps, so I was a Marine Corps pilot, and being a Marine Corps pilot, flew helicopters, flew the V-22 Osprey, and all that was wonderful. I ended up getting medically retired, so I got a full retirement. So just like Doc, I wake up on the first of every month and have a paycheck in my account. Love that. So Eric's going, okay, we need to talk about that. No.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
So,
sir.
ended up getting medically retired,
And
unfortunately. Stayed working in the B-22 Osprey program for 5 years, running the training department. And then that contract came to an end, and I became an air medical pilot. Loved that job. Did 659 patient flights with that. Watched people's lives change on a dime, unfortunately. I used to love spending times with families when they were going through that crisis. It was something that I just cherished. So ended up being in the right place, right time, just like you said, Eric. And Team Penske NASCAR in Indy was looking for a pilot to fly their helicopter. And so in 2017 became the helicopter pilot for Team Penske NASCAR and Indy. So I fly Roger Penske and fly drivers, all that stuff, and people in and out of the track on race days. And then COVID hit, and that kind of slowed down a little bit, and I became a jet pilot. So they trust me to fly 2 jets, a Gulfstream 280 and a Gulfstream 150. So that's my side gig that I have, I say. And what I really do is this. I do the platform convene communities. It's the idea is to bring people together, and that's what we're doing here. We're bringing, us together. And the ultimate goal of what I do is to make a difference in people's lives. And I think that I know from talking to each and every one of you guys on here that that's your goal in life too. And so our job is to come together and lift people up and allow people like my son Braden not to make the same mistakes that we did, and to learn how to be a positive professional dad. Isn't that right? So in the future, and that includes being a positive professional husband. So that's what we want to do, obviously. So, that's a little bit about me. I'm in Delaware, not Delaware right now. I was in Delaware 2 weeks ago, but I'm in Teterboro, New Jersey over here with all the drones flying around, I guess, and everything. So hopefully I don't get hit. But yeah, let's keep talking. And so I'll post this question out there, and I think we should go around the room again.
Well, hold on, Matt.
Yeah.
Before you go, you forgot one important tidbit. And you just need to tell everyone how the Marine Corps is just another department of the Navy. So you're really a Navyman too. So go ahead and share that story.
Yeah, let me go ahead and share that. But let me ask you a quick question, DeBose, while we're talking about it. Let's say that we're having a head table. We have a head table up there. Who sits more senior? Is that the Marine Corps or the Navy?
I don't know. That's above my pay grade.
There we go. That's the Marine Corps. And if you had an honor guard out there and the flags are flying, which flag is more senior, the Marine Corps or the Navy?
All right.
When you cash your check, what does it say on it?
Department of Treasury.
Department of Treasury. And then one last question. When it comes down to the Vols or the Bulldogs, who's the best?
Hey, VFL, baby, volunteer for life.
I'm a part-timer.
Well, you know what Navy stands for, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, never
What's
again.
that?
Never again volunteer yourself.
Yeah. That's
Yes,
true,
sir.
though, too.
I still haven't learned that lesson.
Yeah. All right, hey, let's go around the room and talk about this. We can go in the same order if y'all want to, which is awesome. What's the biggest thing, or the biggest thing that a dad has to face in today's times, or you personally, whatever you think? DeVoe, we'll start with you. So as a father, being a professional dad, what's the hardest thing? And you have a lot of experience, not just with your own kids, but as an administrator in the schools and all that, for sure.
Yeah. So I think my biggest troubling point was learning how to be a dad. Again, I've been a principal for a lot of years. So I would always come home and still wear my principal hat, not knowing that I need to drop it off at the door when I arrived. And the reason why I think that differential is so important is because we have to listen to our kids. And I am just a horrible listener. I am I am Mr. Fix It. Like I want to
Wait a
run
minute,
through it.
dude. After what I saw earlier with that ear, how you gonna be a horrible listener?
Don't giggle my ears, man.
I'm jealous, man. I'm just saying. I don't know how you can't listen, man.
Well, I did clean them this week. I did clean them this week. So count it all joy. Count it all joy. No, but seriously, it comes to just listening, and then also when you take the transition, like now, my 21-year-old is an adult, and for intents and purposes, my 18-year-old is also an adult who thinks she's probably been adult for the last 8 years anyway. I had to learn how to sit. I have to learn. I'm still learning how to sit and have conversations with them and not always share my opinion. I think there's a time and a place for that. But and hear them for opinion ask instead of try to run out and solve their quickest problems. And that was also a problem that I suffered in my marriage as well. Is just try to solve everything. As a principal or being in the military, we're just so quick to try to solve all the ills in 30 seconds or less. And and so the wife would just used to say, "Hey, I don't need you to solve anything. I just need for you to listen." And so it took me about a good 3 to 4 years just to shut my mouth and just hear them, hear what it is that they have to say, hear what it is that they had to share. Um, because eventually, what I found out is if you try to solve everything and not really take time to dive deep and figure out, well, how do you feel about it, or what do you think, or what is the pitfalls that you see, or what are the things that you're trying to navigate to, like what is your plan to get through this? Um, then eventually they stop bringing stuff to you. And so that's a bad position, and you don't ever want to be in there as a dad. You always want your children and your spouse to feel as if they can bring anything to you without judgment being cast down on them. So to me, I think that's an area that's just been extremely hard, and one that I still struggle with. I have to consciously, I have to, I have to be intentional about bringing it to my conscious level to say, "Hey, Devon, slow down, shut your mouth, and just listen." And then in counseling they teach us, ask probing questions or clarifying questions to try to get the crux of what's going on. And even when you think ask more questions on top of that.
Yeah.
Till you kind of get to the true meaning or to the true root of what it is that they find bothering them. So that's kind of been my thing, is just active listening and making sure that I hear my kids instead of trying to solve their problems or their concerns at the time.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. And I think, in undergrad, getting my psychology degree, I missed that interpersonal communication class. It took me going through life in the school of hard knocks to figure out that the most important skill, like you said, is listening. And it's not always easy because we want to jump, we want to fix, and listening and allowing them to, stand on their own 2 feet and work through the issues together. And I think that's one of the hardest things that we do as a parent and a husband at the same time, for sure. Yeah. Anybody else want to jump on that or say anything about that?
Yeah, I think. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Doc.
For me, and I'm still learning this. The hardest thing for me is learning to let them fail at certain things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I want to be there to swoop in and be that big protector, and I gotta learn to step back. I mean, they're not going to learn otherwise. So, I still struggle with that to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a word right there. So I'm at the other end of the spectrum in terms of the ages, in terms of younger kids. I know some of you have adults and even teenagers, but mine are young to the degree where I feel like I'm still in that molding stage, and it's even in the molding and shaping, you're forming habits I reflect on how my parents raised me and some of the expectations they had for me and my sisters. Some of that stuff just bleeds naturally into my parenting style and trying to mold them to be certain folks, because I hear myself saying the same thing that my parents said to me, that you're a reflection of us wherever you go. And there's this bar that feels like it's really high. And so some of it is just a matter of how much molding, but let the form take its shape and let them explore and fail, and let the mold fall, and you have to build it back up because of trial and error. I think that's one of the things that I find is challenging, even with kids that are under 12. Is this, I feel like this responsibility to shape them, and then when they get a certain age, let them go be the example of how mom and I shaped them. And I think you have to give them a little bit of let them apply some of the shaping along the way. And I'm learning that. The other thing is going to sound really jacked up, but I love my wife and I love spending time with her. And so when I feel like the toughest thing I face is I feel like I have a lack of time by the time I get home, I really want to spend time with her, catching up on things that she's doing because she's a boss. And just how's your day? And so it's like, oh, wait, I didn't go speak to the boys. I got to go make that time. So it's kind of splitting time between the one who helped create these boys and then the time that it takes to be the dad in their lives. And so it's like I found myself splitting hairs, and I don't know if I feel guilty for that. But it's just a natural husband first, dad second, or dad first, husband second. I'm fighting that kind of battle in my head.
Yeah.
When you figure it out, let me know, because I sure don't know either, man.
Yeah. I think.
Well, you model. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was going to say you model the behavior you want them to see.
Yeah.
Right. And so you want them to see a loving husband, right? Also, right, and then a caring dad. So I mean, it's both ends. It's not either or. At the end of the day, there's this a picture of holding a bar of wet soap, and if you squeeze the soap too hard, it slips out your hand. Or I'm sorry, you mangle it. I'm sorry, I had it backwards. You mangle it, but if you don't hold it firm enough, it slips out your hand, and that's kind of a picture of kids. You got to have that right tension, because if you squeeze too hard, you're going to make it something you did not intend. But if you don't hold it firm enough, it's going to slip right out of your fingers. And that's just a constant tension, especially as men that we face, because we have a lot of demands on our time. We also have natural desires, Eric, to your point of there's things that we need as men and things we want to do as men that we have to make time for. For sure.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. It's striking that balance, right? But I think you said it right, Anthony. You got to set the example, right? You want your kids to see you as a positive role model, just as well as a father and as a husband, because one day you're going to be having the conversations with them about getting married, and you want them to look at you, I think, and think, well, I want to be like my dad. I want to be like, my father, and a good husband, and a good role model in life. And I think that's really important. So I do agree with both of you on that, but it's getting that balance, of pouring into your kids and all that. I think another important thing is, one of the things I think people ask me all the time, I'm very proud of my kids, and people ask me, sometimes, how did you do it? How did you, because my kids are grown, Braden is very successful working for Milwaukee Tools, and with Riley. And then, you look at Megan, my daughter Megan's in medical school. And then my daughter Lainey's a junior at Chapel Hill. And so people say, well, how did you do it? How did you all do it, with your kids? And I think it comes down to open, honest communications with your kids. You have to communicate, and you have to let them know that life is not easy. It's not, and it takes hard work, and if you want to get to where you want to be in life, we can't make it happen for you. You got to go make it. We can only do so much, and you're going to have to go out and strive and do great things as well. And
that's a good word. Yeah.
And that's really the truth. And so, I've told all my my kids, I mean, life has not always been easy. I mean, I've gone ups and downs and lefts and right, and I've switched jobs. I've gone from the Marine Corps, getting medically retired in the Marine Corps, to working with the V-22, to flying air medical, to, now defense. So it's not a linear path. You're not just walking that straight line. So
I think Devo's changing a tire.
Yeah.
He's dancing in the rain in the naked.
Yeah. You got to learn how to change tires in the middle of a podcast,
dancing naked in the rain.
That's impressive, man.
Yeah. But I think it's open, honest conversations with your kids, and allowing them to learn that life's not easy. And as frustrating as it might get, sometimes there's always a day, the new day tomorrow, and you have to keep hope, right? And we'll get into, where do you find your hope? I know we're going to end up talking about religion and, our beliefs and all that, but you set the example, and let them know it's not easy. And I think that's very important, because a lot of kids can't take it now. Let's be honest. And we'll talk about this probably a lot.
That's true.
A lot of kids cannot take life because they, when the stress happens, and they fall down and skin their knee, it doesn't matter what age they are, they're, that hurts and they're not going to get back up. Well, skin your knee and get back up.
Yeah, I kind of felt bad. My wife and I were talking to my daughter yesterday, and she was all upset. She's crying because they've got finals coming up, and she's worried that there's a possibility she might get a B in one class instead of an A, and she's really upset about that. I've never had a B. I've always had A's, and I'm sitting there laughing to myself, thinking, man, if I had that problem in high school, I would have had no problems in high school, if you know what I mean. Oh, I was lucky to graduate high school, by God. Yeah. But it's just, it's going into looking at that perspective, I had to actually take a step back and think, well, wait a minute, are we putting too much pressure on her? Is this something she's putting on herself? Where is this coming from? So after I laughed at myself, I had to, really kind of do some introspection and reflection and see, all right, where's this coming from? And I don't believe we're putting too much pressure on them. As a matter of fact, I know for certain we don't. But thank God I married who I married because they got her smarts, and it just comes naturally to them. Thank God,
Yeah, but tell her to shoot for that A if she can, because I'll tell you, not to brag, I think the first time I made a C was in college biology, and it was a bar that I felt like I had dropped because the standard was so high in my household. And then I found myself in careers saying to athletes that I was working with, student athletes I was working with, I said, your GPA that you established is very similar to a passport. When you have that passport, obviously you stamp it in and out of countries, but it just qualifies you to fly wherever you want to go in life. And to me, to her, your daughter, that GPA, as high as it gets, is really like establishing a passport that's going to open the door to wherever it is that she wants to go. So I don't think it's the stress that the parents put on more so than maybe it's peer-to-peer situation. Maybe it's even the class itself. But if that's a bar that she feels that's innately high, I mean, keep going for it. I think it'll pay off for her. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I think that would pay off for her in the long run, because it is truly a passport that's going to take her wherever she wants to go in life.
Well, I actually talk to the kids all the time, and I tell them, listen, when I was your age, I struggled in school. It comes easy and natural to you, so you should be very thankful for that. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean you need to be lazy and not keep striving for higher. I said, yeah. I never thought I would go to college. I was a CD student at best in high school, barely graduated. Once I got into the real world, I realized there's something that I want. And that's something that I want badly. So I put my mind to it. And that taught me the valuable lesson of you can do anything you put your mind to. And so I always tell them, and I actually showed them my high school transcripts, as embarrassing as it was. But then I went in the back and I showed them my college transcripts when I, graduated with honors, and all my military classes, I graduated with honors. So I told them, listen, anything is attainable. If you put your mind to it, you work hard towards it, you can do it. So maybe that's where it's coming from a little bit, but I don't know. We don't have that conversation every day.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of that. I think the kids put the pressure on themselves nowadays. There's a lot of, internal pressure to make grades at school, and there's such a high standard. I mean, back when I was in high school, I'm pretty old, like Doc, but I couldn't even spell AP. Didn't even know what one was. AP, what are you talking about? AP class? There ain't no such thing, But if you go back and you look at it, I mean, I just, I'm like you, Eric. I mean, and I don't know who else did, but I was going to school to play baseball, and I knew it. That's what was getting me to the next level, and it did. And then once I got to school, I figured out that, guess what? I'm probably not going to go to the major leagues like I thought I was. But I was lucky enough to get a pilot contract. So I went from, I graduated high school with a 2.2 grade point average, But I think,
dang, that's high.
This is part of mine. Yeah. That's why I got in the Marine Corps, not the Navy. No, but on a serious note, it's like then when I signed my contract with the Marine Corps, it ramped up because I had to make a high grade. So I went from a 2.2 and, everything above then, in college at that point was, above a 3.0. I can't remember what I think I graduated like a 3.2, whatever. But then I literally got to flight school, and Doc will tell you this from being in the military. Some of our schools in the military, it's a different world, and flight school is one of those worlds. I had to learn how to study. I had to learn how to become a professional student. My wife and I she was a nurse, and I was, in flight school, and I remember she was getting some of her advanced certifications and stuff like that. And I would sit there and help her study, and she would help me study at the same time. We spent a lot of time going through, note cards with each other and stuff like that. But it's different because flight school, you literally go in, it's a one-on-one or a one-on-two, one instructor, two students, one instructor, one. And it's an oral exam every single day of your life. And then it goes from an oral exam out to practical application inside of the airplane or the helicopter. And so you really learn to change things up. Did I ever think I'd go get a master's degree? Not in a million years did I ever think I'd go get a master's degree. But, I have in counseling and all that. But, yeah, it's setting that standard. And I think nowadays the kids' standards sometimes are set for them, in schools.
Could be, yeah. I will say that I am proud of her, though, because she is a cheerleader. And, my wife brought up the question, well, what's the grade cutoff for cheerleading, for school? And she's like, I'm not even worried about cheerleading. Number one, my grades are way higher than that. And I don't care about cheerleading. If it's between cheerleading and school, I'm picking school. I'm like, she's definitely not my daughter.
Well, two things here real quick. I'm going to go ahead and say two things. One is I'm so glad your daughter, I haven't seen her, but she had to have gotten your daggone wife's looks because she wouldn't be a cheerleader. She had yours.
This is true. This is true. Yeah. In fact, there's a story behind that. Oh. When they were little, she's a spitting image of my wife. And I used to tell people I'm so upset. I really wanted her to look more like me because I really wouldn't have to worry about her dating then, but all bets are off now.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. No, it is hard.
It's
so now Anthony, what
Yes.
are some things that for you as a dad? You're a business too, so
yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing for dads, men in general, with dads is always, what are we identifying with? What's our rock that we're anchored to? What are those things that we? Somebody says, "Who are you?" Do we talk about work? Do we talk? I'm a dad. Like, it's got to be more than that at the end of the day, to be honest with you, because kids are going to grow up and move out. You'll always be dad, but the whole dynamic changes. Work changes. All those things. So I think the biggest challenge I've seen, and the biggest challenge facing these kids today, is they have no idea who they are. They don't have, how many identities out there, how many pronouns, right? Who are we? And so I agree. But so I think, what are your values? And, and Eric, you talk about how your parents raised you, right? They instilled values, they instilled morals, and that informs your decisions at the end of the day. And so I think I think that as dads, like, Devon talked about listening. That's important, like all these things, but it's really what do I identify as? Like, who am I as a man?
Yeah.
And then live that out, and we're going to, if we, we'll get to a religion, but I'm a Christian. That's my identity. And then everything flows out of that. Everything flows out of that. And so it didn't always. I am divorced. I am a single parent, share custody with my ex-wife, but I haven't always lived that life. And so now I see the utter importance of it. And so I think that we can't be afraid to fail at that either. And that fear is paralyzing, and it can be. And so, we apply the lessons from those failures. But, I think, won't get into it too much, but in Psalm chapter 18, it says, who is the rock but the Lord? And I just pondered that all day today. And then we talk about this, and it's like, what am I attached to? What am I anchored to? What am I really identifying as a man and as a dad? So I think that's just a big challenge. It's a big challenge for these men. And in my restaurant, I do have a lot of teenagers. That's my second family, and they are struggling. They are just struggling, and just had to let a young man go on Sunday, and it broke my heart, but I had to do it, and we had a great conversation. He understood it, but he's 21 with no direction whatsoever, and he has no identity, and so I think that as dads, we want to inform those. We can't shape them. We can inform the identity. I don't believe we can shape them. I think, like we talked about, Matt, you said it's like they got to go out there and do it, right? And I think that, but we have to be able to inform their identities. We have to give them some information and some examples of what it's out there. I always tell my kids, I just want you to have a choice. I don't want you to just believe what one person says. I'm going to tell you something. I always want you to have a choice, and then always have a reason for what you do.
Yeah.
If you do something stupid, it's fine. Just have a reason. Don't just, the worst thing is, I don't know. I hate when my kids say that to me. Why'd you do? I don't know. Like, no, have a reason for what you're doing.
Couple of things. It's when you do something stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality of it. Raise your hand if you ever did something stupid on there. Right. Or something that wasn't great. That's part of life.
I'm still doing stupid stuff, man. Are you kidding me? Every day.
Well, that's the thing. It's showing that you can do stupid things. You got to learn from them and not repeat. Not continue to repeat. And but I think what you're saying is so important, man. And that's why we're doing this podcast, right? Is to talk about how we can be a positive professional dad, how we can be a positive role model as a husband, how we can be a positive role model as a father, as a friend, as somebody who supports other men. And I think that positive role model is what we really are going to dive into on this, because
can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I really like the title of the podcast.
I couldn't believe it was available, that.
Because as dads, it's not a part-time job, right? It's 24/7, and we got to be on top of our game at all times. So I'm digging the title.
Yeah.
I was reflecting, Doc, on what you were saying about your conversation with your daughter, and just came to me just last night. And I know this is going to be the goofiest thing that's said tonight, but my wife and I had a holiday party to attend before we left. Our son was working on a paper for his 5th grade class, and I didn't put no thought into it. Just, put some words on the paper and keep it moving. But he asked for a little bit of help. And while I was waiting on her to get ready, I sat down with him. I looked at the first thing he wrote, and the studies show da, 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 da. And I said, hey, you can't do that. That's plagiarism. We're talking about a 10-year-old, right? Like, in my mind, as I said that, I already knew really, dude, this is it's fifth grade. What are we talking about? But I was like, I walked him through the whole notion about plagiarism and, hey, if you're going to do it, you got to do it this way. And here's some things you should consider and all that stuff. And always write the source. But as my words are coming out, my head is saying, dude, lay off of your son. Let him just get the stuff on the thing. Long story short, it's like, what's the thing? You want to be right, or you want to be whatever that thing is. So I backed off a little bit. We left and went to the party. But when we came home last night on the kitchen counter, there was a note that said, "Hey, Dad, thanks for helping me on my paper. I really feel like this is going to be a good paper when I turn it in. And oh, by the way, Mom, happy birthday. Love," it said his name. And so it was like, okay, there's head trash going on, but there was still a little gem that was dropped that stuck the dismount, and he appreciated it. But I was like, this dude don't need to know about plagiarism right now. But it'd be pretty cool when he turns his paper in tomorrow that his teacher's going to be like, wow, he knows about this. That's pretty cool. So
what was the dumb thing that you were saying? I didn't hear anything in there.
Introducing plagiarism to a 10-year-old. Is it too soon to do all that kind of stuff? I don't know. But I love the note. The note of affirmation when we got home was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Well, we don't want to let our listeners down, so I'll go ahead and say something stupid for you just to keep us going. Anthony, anybody ever tell you look like a little bit like Lionel Richie?
Oh
Get
my
a Lionel
gosh,
Richie
yeah.
vibe here.
Yeah.
Hello.
I'm not singing.
Just don't
I'm
be
not
dancing
singing.
on the ceiling, man.
I'm not singing.
Damn, we're old. Holy smokes, we're old.
Yeah.
That is too
I have heard that once or twice.
It's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's bad.
No, it's not. Not
That's
at
a
all.
talented individual.
Well, look at this,
Almost
man.
dropped it.
Hey, we're almost up to an hour, but the coolest thing was we started with 5. Devon stopped on the side of the road, helped somebody change the tires. That's pretty good, Yeah, so he made things happen. And then we'll have others. The whole goal of this, Josh Griffith was supposed to be on tonight, but he's traveling out to Las Vegas. We're going to have other guests on. If you want to be on, reach out to one of us. We're going to have other guests, talk to people. Again, we want to make this something special for dads. We want to create a movement for professional dads. It's not just about us 5 getting on here and Josh being 6 and then the other people 7, 8, whoever it is. And just, we don't want it just be about us. We want it to be about, all of us coming together, creating a group of men moving together so we can all learn from each other. I'll say that and let you guys close. That's my close. We'll be on next week. We'll be posting on Convene Communities and throwing out times. We will start posting specific topics so people know what we're going to be going in to each week, and one of us will take the lead each week. So on that topic of conversation. But I'll let y'all close it out. That's me. That's all I got to say. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Matt, I'm gonna restate what I said to the group when we met right after Thanksgiving. Not to offend, but to affirm that whenever men get together in this type of setting and talk about their place, I believe a rightful place, biblically speaking, the enemy gets mad, begins to get nervous because when men realize or recognize the place that they have on earth, the authority, and I'm not saying that to be sexist, I'm just saying that biblically speaking, it creates a movement. And to have men come together and assemble together to really talk about one, their sense of purpose that's been given to them and gifted to them, and then the sense of direction when it comes to their children. This is not to alienate or isolate from the role of the woman and her place as mothers and wives, but there is a natural order to this in terms of a man's place and role as a father. And so I would say we better buckle up and get ready for some disturbances, because it's just something that I feel can potentially be kingdom building. If done the right way, with ego aside and really just understanding the assignment, it can be kingdom building. So I'm looking forward to this. And also, like Anthony said, learning from each of you, but also those that come on each week, each month as this thing grows. So you had the first conversation at Guilford talking about convened Christians at the time. It's morphed into convened communities. So just for the time that you and I have known each other, to see the seed that you planted in the ground, you didn't get tired. You didn't, say it's not going to work and let me just, move on. It was in vain, but you kept cultivating, you kept, planting. And so believing seed time harvest, you're in that season of reaping what you've been sowing. So I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. And, again, all of us on here, God brought us together for a reason, right? Special relationships, I just think it's wonderful. Amy, I want to throw this out here and then let you others close out. But Amy Krause watching, she says it's always a blessing to hear from men who are family centered and real. And that's true. Just what you just said. She echoed what you said, Eric, for sure. And she posted that before you said it. So that was really good. So I appreciate that, Amy. Anthony? Doc?
Oh, I'm just looking forward to it. I'm excited. This is always a great thing to get with brothers and just grow. It's just exciting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
No doubt.
Doc, take us out. Close us out.
Well, I will say that I get the feeling that we're all type alpha gentlemen in the room. I sense that. And so, Eric, with what you said earlier, bring it. I'm ready. You wanna shake things up, bring it. Let's do it. Because it's time that we get back to where we need to be in our lives. All of our wives, our children, our own lives, with each other. So bring it. That's all I got to say.
Well, and let's talk about the hard topics.
Yeah.
That's right.
Let's talk about it, right? Because we need
That's
to. We need to bring the hard topics. We need to talk about it. We need to set the stage, right? Because it's men who have to be the role models and set it going forward. All right,
Well,
guys.
we did it.
We did it.
We completed our first episode, and
What do you think, Eric? Your first podcast like this?
I'm good. I'm coming back next week. Let's do it. Can't wait for Josh to start joshing with us.
Yeah, Josh will be here, just joshing, and we'll bring in some
Yeah.
others. So looking forward to it, and we'll make this happen. So I appreciate everybody watching, all the comments and all that. Let's keep it going, guys.
all right. See everybody next week.